What's up, War Report family? It is Wednesday, March the 8th, and B-Wil joins me this morning to talk about the SEC. Is the SEC overrated in basketball this year? And did Bama win the conference on a down year? Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
What's up, and good morning, War Report family. It's your boy MIke G here with my guy B-Wil, ready to talk a little basketball. B, it's SEC tournament time, man. It's time to see who's going to win this little thing called the SEC tournament. But there's a lot of talk about the conference this year. The SEC is poised to send possibly 8 teams to the NCAA tournament this year. They said 6 last year. And the question that we're talking about this morning is simple. Is the SEC overrated this year? And did Bama win the conference on a down year? What say you?
I don't think it's overrated. The reason I can say confidently that the SEC is not overrated is because the powerhouses that used to reside top of the country in the ACC, UNC is not good. Duke is good, not great. Pitt is actually good, not great. Miami might be really good sneakily, but they're similar to the SEC, the Big 12, or the Big 10 in this way. There is one team that is really good. No team is elite anywhere that I've seen so far.
Right.
One really good team, a bunch of good teams up underneath them. And I'd say the middle of the pack in every conference is strong. They're all equal, very little separating. I'd say teams 3 through 7 in most conferences. But there is no elite runaway powerhouse team in college basketball this year. The SEC is competitive on the merits of its participants 1 through 7 or 8. And that's why we're going to get so many in. There aren't nearly as many teams 5 through 8 that are good in other conferences.
We got crushed this year in the Big 12 Challenge, the SEC Big 12 Challenge. They won it last year handily. This year, I don't think the SEC fared so well. I guess my question being, with the Big 12 poised to send 8 teams to the tourney, and the SEC maybe getting 7 or 8 in, is there a bias that the conference is down when Kentucky is not good? Right, like when like in football, like if Bama's not good, people come back and be like, "Oh, the SEC had a down year. Bama wasn't great. They only won 10 games, so it was a down year." And it's like, was it really though? Or did the middle of the conference just catch up a little bit and they still had a pretty good year for them?
Yeah, I think the middle of the conference has a lot to say about the quality of a conference, more so than the top 1 or 2. And to your point, the Big 12 has been good this year, but they also dropped some inexplicable games. Like you said, in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, Oklahoma beat Bama. I wouldn't expect. Oklahoma then lost like 4 of their next 5 games, and it wasn't even against good teams necessarily. They played a really good game. Bama lost a big game by a lot to a terrible team in Oklahoma. But that wasn't necessarily the norm. If we replayed those games today on a neutral site, I think the SEC comes out a little better. But I do think that perception changes based on what the powerhouses do. The people that you think of when you think, "Oh, well,
who is that though?" That's Kentucky and the
that's
SEC.
Kentucky in the SEC. I think Kentucky's fair to say. I think it was fair to expect Tennessee and even Auburn. Tennessee, Auburn, Florida. They had some change going on, so you can expect a lot from them. South Carolina's been bad. Arkansas, down, right? They had a coach. They got to the Sweet 16, and they got to the Elite 8. Didn't Arkansas get to the Elite 8 last year?
Yeah, they did.
Because they beat Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah. That's a great year.
So once you return enough talent and the coach, you expect a certain result, and that didn't happen last year. So, that didn't happen this season for Arkansas, and it didn't happen for a couple teams, and that's why I think it's down. I don't know what,
but for so long it's just been Kentucky, right?
Yeah, that you expected.
Yeah, now we're talking about there's expectations on other schools. I mean, is it fair to say that Auburn, based on having the best win percentage in the SEC over the last 5 years, has entered that territory when they are down? The perception is the conference is down.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And I think Auburn being one of the teams like Arkansas who has had so much Auburn's had the win percentage success. Arkansas has had more recent tournament success. Okay. You can say, hey, here are two teams we counted on to be at the front and center for this conference pushing forward. And y'all are down. The league is down. And I think that perception is okay, but you also have to look at who's hovering around the middle here. There are a lot of teams middle of the pack and up that are doing a lot of work for us.
Yeah, I just think it's been Kentucky. It's just been Kentucky and Kentucky and Kentucky for so long. And the SEC, that's what you thought about. They've had a true blue blood program for so long. They've won their championships. They put their draft picks in, and now other schools are starting to do that. So with the emergence of Alabama being okay at basketball, right? Auburn, making a Final Four in the last few years, and putting first-round draft picks into the league. Alabama will put they may have the number one overall pick.
It's possible.
Right? Is it a silly notion that Bama won the conference because this was a down year? Is that a silly notion? Good.
I think it's a little silly because they really just had the talent. I think that's all it comes down to. Brandon Miller, for everything going on around him, he is the most single outstanding player in the conference. I don't think it's necessarily close. I'm trying to think who else is like, oh man, no, that dude's just as good as. It's like I haven't really seen anybody who jumps off the screen at me like that. So I think that's fair. The best player in the conference is on a team that has the best record in the conference, and they had a good year. So I don't think there's anything about that being a down year, because you still got to go out and beat these teams, man. Like I get it. If Auburn had won 3 more games in the regular season.
Okay, so 23 and like what? 17?
7.
Okay.
23-7. Okay, so if we had won 3 more games, I think maybe people would want to give Bama a little more credit for beating a better Auburn team. Right now, we can say, oh, well, we played them tight and we almost had them. Yeah, but they won. And I know we weren't a great team. It's clear. We have clear deficiencies, but you still have to line up and beat that team. Like we swept Bama last year. Bama wasn't good last year. And I am one of the only people to consistently say this, mostly in football. I care less about beating the other team when the other team isn't good, because it's not as great a feat if the other team isn't good. So to that measure, yes, Bama has beat teams that aren't like powerhouse teams this year. But man, you still got to go out and play them. They're still going to be gunning for you, especially when you're the top dog to that extent. People have that bullseye on your back, man. They're coming to take you down. Arkansas got close. Mississippi State got close. We got close. They fought off enough. The refs fought off some. But they did what they had to do to win the regular season. And as a team who kind of limped to a regular season title last year, like Auburn did, I understand that takes some that takes some let's say, I'm trying not to say BALLS on the live so YouTube doesn't flag it, but y'all know what I mean. You still gotta do it.
Let me ask you this, because I choose violence this morning. Does the Brandon Miller thing pull the whole league down? As the flagship program this year, does the Brandon Miller thing kind of water it down for the entire SEC?
You know what? Only to the extent that that's the conference's best team, and they have a major
and the conference's best player.
Right. Best team, best player, major issue. They can't pub them. They can't put them front and center. They can't talk about them too much. They can't put them in front of the press. So, yeah, that's an issue, because right now Alabama is supposed to be carrying the water for the conference, even though they've struggled here down the stretch. So, that's a tough situation for them to be in. But hey, look, they could have done the right thing. Sat him for a couple of games, come full disclosure as soon as everything happens. Say, here's what we know, here's what we don't. We're going to sit him to teach him a lesson. And then at least once he's exposed to the media again, there's a sense of contrition.
Have we heard him talk? Do we know what he sounds like?
No, I don't know what he sounds like. So they fumbled that bag. Alabama fumbled that bag by not getting ahead of it, cutting it off at the pass, and then you can put your best player in the country out there and say, hey, here's my I'm happy to play. I'm happy to be here. All that happened. I'm going through the legal process. I'm taking this responsibility, all that stuff.
Right.
That would have been an easy fix. You could put your premier player and your conference winning team back for front and center, but now they can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, is Greg Sankey like, damn it, we give y'all one good year. We put the refs on your side, and all you had to do was to suspend this kid for 2 games.
Man.
3 games. 3 meaningless games in the middle of the season. I think they would have won the conference regardless.
Yeah.
I think they would have won the conference regardless. I don't know. It would have been tough down the stretch with Texas A&M. Because one more loss might have meant, the way it played out, might have meant that last game would have been for the conference. So who knows? But still, in terms of your year, you're probably still a #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. I just don't. I didn't understand it. In my opinion, it drug the league down. In my opinion,
a little bit.
Alabama drug the league down with all this talk about Brandon Miller, all because they just couldn't do like basic PR. And I think this is a strong year for the league. I think it's a strong year for the league with Kentucky surging at the end. They didn't start off great, but coming on at the end, Texas A&M rebounding from the snub of last year, Auburn finding a way to make the tournament and close strong. Tennessee still, I think, in Missouri, underrated, extremely underrated in my opinion, right? Mississippi State is a bubble team that may make the tournament. Arkansas, nobody wants to play them. This was a nightmare draw for Auburn in this bracket, right? Yeah. I just think the league is as strong as it's been, and that team at the top may rotate from year to year. Right. But I think Bama's going to be this good next year. No,
I don't actually think we're rotating. So what happened? I think last year we had 3 teams at the top who were kind of borderline. Auburn was really good. Of course, we won the league. Tennessee was really good last year, and Arkansas was really good last year. Okay. We had 3 teams at the top who really, the only thing that determined who won the games that they played was who was at home. Like that was it. You remember, like we were like, well, it seems like of these 3, there may have been one more team. Whoever's at home is going to win the game. That was it. That was the deciding factor between a lot of the games between those 3 teams. And that's not what the case is right now. Right now, it's a lot of teams who are just under that really good line. And even home court isn't necessarily the deciding factor. But Alabama's the only team who is playing to the standard that those 3 teams played last year.
Right. It just felt like to me, they really messed it up for everybody. And I think to add insult to injury, I think they're going to be an early round exit in the NCAA tournament.
I can see round of 32 for sure. I mean, they're playing. I don't want to say they're playing tight. I haven't watched Alabama films to know, all right, this is working. This was working in early January, and now this isn't working in early March. I'm sure there's something different because everybody's playing them extremely tight. Everybody's playing them tight. So there's no telling exactly what's not working anymore, but you're going to come up against some teams in the tournament, man. These teams aren't in the tournament. Street shooting teams or teams that know how to defend. If South Carolina can hold you down like that, then anybody in the tournament can as well.
There's something about teams that live and die by the 3.
Right.
And when they go cold, you got to find other ways to score. And it can get difficult against good teams. And outside of that 1-16 matchup, I think it's going to be difficult for them in the tournament, which will weaken the perception of the league if our flagship program goes out in the round of 32.
Right.
Personally. So, I think they're a drag on the conference this year. Despite their success, I think they're a drag on the conference this year with how they handled the PR around the Brandon Miller thing. And they seem to be going, and this is why Auburn is dangerous and why they have a chance. Teams like Auburn and Arkansas that might, like sneak in the tournament have a chance to bolster the strength of the league because nobody's looking at them and they get hot at the right time and they make deep runs into the tournament. Right. Not like Arkansas has been the last couple of years, right? Making the Elite 8 and just having teams consistently make the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and the Final 4, not named Kentucky.
Right.
Not named Kentucky. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Real quick before we go to the comments here, B, I got to get you on record.
Oh, okay.
What's your prediction here for the SEC? Tom? I mean, we talked a lot about how Bama could flop. Do you think that they win the SEC tournament?
No, honestly, I think Kentucky does.
You think Kentucky wins it?
That Kentucky Texas A&M semifinal, potential semifinal, I think will be the battle of the two best teams in the conference. And I think the winner of that wins the conference against whoever comes out of the Bama side of the bracket.
Yeah, right. Listen, I'm not sure it's Kentucky. For me, it's the Rogue Shop, right? RogueShop.com to get 15%.
It was a setup the whole time. Man, you are killing it. Thank you with these segues, man. Thank you. It's good to have you back, boy. Oh, my goodness.
15% off that order at the Rogue Shop with code rapport. They got stuff for sleep, anxiety, pain, stress, whatever ails you. The Rogue Shop has something that can help you get through life. Life can be hard sometimes. The Rogue Shop has some tools to aid you in that regard. Guys, aid us by becoming a patron member. $5.99 a month will get you there. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, and we're on the race for 20. But I would love, B would love, Ike would love, Caesar would love 10,000 patrons. Absolutely. So let's get these patron memberships up. Get yourself a green name gang in the chat. Ike is dropping film reviews for you guys. If you guys haven't seen his breakdown on Zep Jasper, go check that out. We are doing patron-only content. If you want to give the gift of the report, look for that gifted membership button as well, too. And you can give the gift of the war report to somebody who has not made a decision to sign up yet, but will be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships should you make that decision. All right, B, let's get back. Let's jump to some comments here this morning.
All right.
It's Wednesday. I'm in here with my guy B-Wil. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on a Wednesday morning. P-Pass says, Auburn getting ready to go full Nolan Richardson, except 80 minutes of hell. Yeah, agreed. Tony, it is frustrating that whenever Bama is good, Kentucky is significantly worse in league play. There are fewer elite teams this year. Now, this is not something I disagree with. I just think the middle of the league came up a little bit and the top of the league came back. And when you have competition, there's going to be the records are going to look a little bit more mediocre.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
what it is. And we see it in football as well, too.
We see it in basketball. In the NBA and the Western Conference, there's like 2 games separating like 7 teams. Like the 3rd seed through the 11th seed are all separated by like 2.5 games in the loss column. Like,
it's going to be tight to see who gets those last like 3 seeds.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when all the teams are actually good. The records aren't down because the teams are worse. It's because more teams are good. So there's more competition. So yeah,
more parity.
I'm in agreement. Yeah,
there's more parity. Our guy Monroe says, I think for the SEC to be considered a premier basketball conference, you have to see consistent results across multiple teams of advancement in the tourney. Are we seeing this right? I mean, Arkansas made an Elite 8. We got going back to 2019 because that's where life starts for a lot of us. Auburn in the Final Four. Arkansas making a couple of Elite 8s.
But that's been it. So the problem is, Kentucky has underperformed.
They made a Sweet 16 though. They made at least one Sweet 16.
They made a Sweet 16, but they're equipped to make the Sweet 16 every year. Like, there's no way they should have gone out in the round of 64. Like, that was a colossal failure for a program of their basketball caliber. Even Alabama, I think they went to a Sweet 16 once. Was it 2020 season? Yeah, I think they went to the Sweet 16 then, the 2020-2021 season. The same thing for who else made the Sweet 16? Arkansas has had the most success, but they haven't even had the best teams. Like, I think once our teams who are like, man, they're really good, actually start going far, I think we underachieved by only getting to the round of 32 last year. With that team, that talent, number one overall ranking in the country, we should have been able to get to 16. So once our regular season results start getting us advanced, like even Tennessee, I think they make it to the 32 last year, and they got bounced to 32, right? Am I making that up?
I believe it is.
Yeah. But we've got to get the teams who are like, man, they're really good and they're ranked top 10, top 12. You've got to make it through to the round of 16. That's what needs to happen. I think when you've got 16 teams competing for a championship and 5 of them are SEC teams, now it starts to look like, oh, okay, that's the conference for basketball.
Right, definitely agreed. Let's see here. James Barnett, fellas, Brandon Miller might be the best player in the SEC, but is he really? We shut him down along with other teams doing so as well. Just my opinion, thoughts. Here's how I feel about Brandon Miller. When you're the best player on a team, when you're the best player on the best team, you're going to get everybody's best effort. And it is difficult to dominate night in, night out when they're game planning specifically to stop you. Anybody but Brandon Miller. I think that's how Auburn felt. Like, hey, just don't let this guy get us. Now, the refs decided to send him to the free throw line for 11 free throws. But statistically, he did not have a great game shooting against Auburn.
Right.
And I think that's symptomatic of how they run their offense.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not unstoppable. I mean, he's a great player. He's just not unstoppable.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this, on Brandon Miller?
Agreed. I don't think you have to be unstoppable as a first-year college player to be the best player in the conference or the country. There are plenty of players. The only player I think about, okay, who was really unstoppable in their 1 year in college? Maybe Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Like that can happen. But other than that, you're in college, man. You're in college. You were just playing high school ball like 9 months ago. And right. This is you're supposed to be a developmental project. You're not supposed to come in there. LeBron Jameses are once in a lifetime. Right. Maybe 2 or 3 in a lifetime. Kevin Durant, it's like you don't come across these guys a lot. So yeah, as far as our current basketball climate, you can be the best player on a team in a conference in the country, but still be able to be stopped. But that's why there are 4 other guys on the court. So listen, you should be able to be creating some shots by just your presence on the floor, or teams trying to do too much to shut you down, slow you down. So other guys should be able to do it. Now, when a team is built poorly, you can only rely on that guy to get you some points and get you some good looks.
Right.
And then you're in trouble. So Bama has it. And that's, I think, what surprised me about them is they've struggled so much once people learned how to load up on Miller. They're like, all right, we got this, no problem. And it's been a dogfight for them for the last, 3 weeks. It's like, hey, Nate, you ain't got nothing else in the bag, man. Come on.
Yeah, and if Quinterly doesn't step up, right, then I can see an early round exit, for them in the NCAA tournament. Monroe says, yeah, Brandon Miller can definitely be stopped, simply put, but he agrees with us. Michael Carlisle absolutely brought the SEC down. Bama is a damaged team now and will make a very short run in the tournament.
I can see 32. They could squeeze through to 16, depending on who the draw is. Because some teams that you could face at the 8, or if they won the 8-9, could be an undersized team from a smaller conference. Like that size is going to be a difference. Like when we played Jacksonville State, we killed them. You know why? Because they're small. We had a lot of size in the middle. Jabari and Walker, their front line was too big. So you can be teetering still. Alabama's a teetering team, but if you've got size and talent advantage, then you can win that game, no problem. So it depends on their draw, but I don't see them getting past 16 for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Michael Carlisle, we have shot just shy of 40% from the 3-point line since the road loss to Tennessee. If that continues, we will make a run in both the SEC and NCAA tournament scoring, because they're going to play defense. If they can find scoring, Auburn's dangerous. It's not a team anybody wants to see. I keep trying to say it, and hopefully they make me right, because I don't like being wrong. Dallas Schwartz at the War Report. Morning, Mike. Did you find some grub last night? LOL. Have a great day. I called B, and B left me hanging for like an hour, guys.
I called you back.
Well, like an hour later. It was spring break, and we were looking for some place to eat, and everybody kept talking about Byron, so I went by Byron's, and they were closed for spring break. Big sign outside said closed for spring break. So then I went to 3 other restaurants that I wanted to eat at, all closed for spring break. I don't understand what kind of regime we're living in where things are closed.
This is a college town, man. There's like 25,000 people here who are just here for school, and when like 20,000 of them leave, come on, man.
Hire some adults, right? Hire some adults. We ended up at Jim and Nick's.
So Jim and Nick's is decent depending on the night.
Yeah. I mean, the ribs. I got a rack of the ribs were good. The ribs were real good at Jim and Nick's. So Jim and Nick's, come sponsor the War Report. I love your ribs. CM Pat, can we get a shirt that says Green Name Game with the War Report logo? I see Ike in the chat. Keep adding him on Twitter until he makes this shirt. Add him on Twitter. Susan Scales says, no, Bama does not win the SEC tournament. Just making a statement. We agree with you. I just think.
Yeah.
Now, listen, they got the easier draw. They definitely got the easier draw on the top side of the bracket.
Right.
Now, hear me out. And we're going to talk about it tonight. But I'm going to spoil a little bit from my end.
All right.
I think Auburn, Missouri in the SEC tournament final. Auburn, Missouri.
Oh, nah, I can't even do that with you.
I know you can't. I expect it to be alone on this, B. I expect it to be alone. One man who had the courage to say it.
Thank you, John McClain. You ain't John McClain.
Nakatomi Tower. Big Yap. Last comment here before we get out of here. War, damn Eagle Bros. Hashtag get your way to Oklahoma exposed Bama. They won't get past the Elite Eight. That was a beatdown. I think it was like 93-60 something.
It was almost 30 points. It was like 27, 28 points. They lost.
Yeah, the 93-69 they got beat. Right.
Yeah.
So yes, it can happen. Definitely. Let me slide one more comment in here. Miller is a freshman, but he is 20 years old. Big difference in Jabari, who just turned 18 and was carrying his team. Just saying, this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. I didn't know he was that old.
Yeah. Miller got held back a couple years in the 5th grade, and developed. So
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's out there doing this thing. And I mean, listen, these guys are young, and I think you made a good point about guys just being like months removed from high school.
Yeah.
But playing college ball.
Right.
So think about it. I mean, the basketball season doesn't start till November. I mean, if you graduate at the normal time, you're maybe 5 months out of high school.
When the season starts, yeah.
When the season starts. So, these guys are really, really young. Ike is shocked. Wait, Miller's 20? He did not know.
Now, it makes all that making bad decisions talk a little different. Like if you,
right.
I get he's just out of high school, but you're 20, man. Like
he can almost have a beer. Yeah, he can almost have a beer.
I don't know.
Lots of excuses for him. So anyway, want to thank everybody for definitely joining us. No witty quips on the end here. I'm just going to say, want to thank the Rogue Shop. Couldn't come up with that. Want to thank the Rogue Shop for sponsoring the War Report. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your next Rogue Shop order. Sleep, stress, anxiety, pain, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that can help you out. Want to thank our guy Richard for sponsoring us, rogueshop.com. Please go check them out. Also, guys, do us a favor. Become a patron member. $5.99 a month will get you there. 10,000 subscriptions for the War Report. Now we need 10,000 patrons to get this thing truly popping in here. And you can help us get there by giving the gift of the War Report. Look for that gifted membership button and help us give the gift of the War Report to somebody who has not made the decision to sign up yet. That's today's morning drop. I want to thank B-Wil and our community for joining me today to talk a little Auburn basketball. We'll be back at you guys Friday. No morning drop on Thursdays, Friday. And we're probably going to be talking about what happened in this first round matchup in the tournament. Ike is live on site, so he'll be reporting. We'll see you guys Friday.